are you? Thank you for being here.
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a crazy morning, but
Oh, yeah?
it's good. It's good.
Okay.
But that's just the energy. Are you familiar with the moon and the two planets aligning to make it look like it's a happy face tonight?
No.
Right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Oh, you've been missing all the fun.
What's going on?
It's going to be a smiley face in the sky tonight because you have just a crescent moon,
Okay.
and then you have two planets above it. So it looks like two eyes and like a Cheshire cat smile.
Interesting. So is like funky stuff supposed to happen, or
I don't think so. I don't
it's
think,
just gonna look fine?
no. Compared to what it was like um 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, where we did a timeline shift.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. All was fun.
What am I'm missing out on all this stuff? What?
Yeah, we had a timeline shift on between the 10th and the 12th or 13th, like midnight on the 12th. So yeah, we shifted timelines.
In a
It,
good way?
well, depends on who you ask. Because for me, it just shifted everything, I feel more grounded, more focused. I feel like I have more awareness about certain things. And because I asked Spirit, I said, okay, so they warned me about this timeline shift about a month or two before it happened, or actually probably in January, because I start looking for timeline shifts throughout the year now that I've become more aware of it.
Okay.
And they said, oh, there's going to be one in April. There's going to be one in August, usually around the Lion's Gate is when we have another timeline shift. And then I feel a minor one in November. So I was kind of warning a lot of people, just watch out. We got a timeline shift happening in April. And I asked when in April, and they gave me between the 10th and the 12th. And they say timeline shifts happen in increments. It's not like you like walk through a door and you're on a new timeline. It's just a slow merger of like two different timelines, and you're like splitting off into a new one. And it can take a few weeks for you to feel the effect of that timeline shift, or for some that are highly sensitive, we could feel it right away. I felt it right away. Like, not only I felt it, my husband felt it, like all these people, like, something's different. I'm like, yep. I was prepared, though. I was feeling sick that weekend because it was a weekend. And I was thinking it was my medicine, but I was feeling achy and stomach ache and headache and wasn't feeling good. I'm like, I bet you we're shifting into the new timeline because you feel kind of flu symptoms.
Hang on. Now you're making me think. Was it a weekend? There might have
But
been a weekend where I like almost felt like I got the flu, and then I woke up the next morning and I was completely fine.
yep, timeline shift.
Interesting.
Yes, because we are jumping through different realities, different timelines, because a different timeline will put you on a different trajectory, a different reality. And that vibrational shift can make the body feel a little unsettled. You can feel sick. You can feel depression or anxiety. Your ADHD might be acting up. You could feel out of sorts, dizzy. I do remember the dizziness, a lot of vertigo that weekend.
Mhm.
It's because we are anchored into the electromagnetic pulse of the earth. So not only are we shifting, but the earth is shifting
Yeah.
through these timelines. And so when the earth's magnetic pull, and the probably Schumann resonance was probably a little strange that weekend as well, our physical bodies start feeling the effect of that. So yeah, I was prepared though. I knew. So I was like, hold on, let's see what this ride's going to be like. So
Interesting.
yeah, I try to warn people before it happens. So the next one around the Lion's Gate, but I'm going to feel as I feel out the energy, because I feel a wall, like a shift energetically when I'm feeling out the energy. Uh, I'm feeling around the 15th of August,
Okay.
between the 13th and the 15th. I could be wrong, but I was feeling out that vibe when we got another timeline shift coming in. Spirit's like, yep. And they don't like warn me. They just confirm.
Yeah.
It is. I
So
tried.
rooted in, sorry, go ahead.
I asked them what this timeline shift was going to create for us, like why.
Yeah.
And they said more transparency. Yeah, they can be very vague sometimes. So I said, okay, what do you mean more transparency? And they say things will become more known. You will be awakened to situations that have been going on around you, but you've been either blind to see, not aware of it, too focused on something else. The transparency is a shift of awareness that helps you be able to make better decisions, to put you on a path of more security, stability. And so, well, the country can use that right now, but they said, so I was like, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, your country is going to be on a rocky situation until September, October.
Mm.
I mean, what do you mean rocky? They said financially, socially, economically. They said you're in for like a roller coaster of a ride
Okay.
until September, October.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be. They didn't give me that many details. If I asked, I'm sure they'd give me more details, but
Yeah.
that's to give me enough to say, I'd buckle up and make sure you are taking care of yourself financially, because you're gonna start seeing chaos all over the place.
I'm in the chaos. It's all right. I'm there already.
A lot of people have been there for like a year, but it has been very surprising, but not too surprising, knowing the way our government works, that they haven't actually said that, hey, we're in an actual recession. And many people are like losing their homes, they're losing their jobs, they can't afford rent, they can't afford food. We're in a crisis, financial and economic crisis. But the thing is, the top 1% isn't feeling the pinch. So if they're not feeling it, then it's not really happening. Did I get too political there? But I'm just saying,
I mean, I don't.
they're not feeling it. So they're like, yeah, we're fine. You're fine. You're a family on the side of the road at a camp, or you can handle it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
little people tend to get lost in the shuffle.
The little people don't exist. The little people are just there to work for the big people.
Mm.
You really think civilization has changed in thousands of years? We think we have, but we keep going back to the same repetitive patterns of people on top controlling the people on the bottom.
Well, I mean, when you say transparency, I think of those kinds of things, like Lemuria or Atlantis or these shifts that didn't go well and the cycles didn't end well. And now we're at the end of another or the beginning of a cycle. And, it
Right.
seems like it seems like by all indications that I understand that we're going to make it this time.
But also remember, what we see and what we're aware of is a big part of what the collective consciousness is aware of. You can't actually see anything until it becomes part of your awareness. You can be walking by the same building every day and never see it if you're not aware that it exists.
Yeah.
It has to be part of your awareness. And the majority of the people are only aware of what the collective consciousness is aware of. Whatever program has been put in the collective consciousness, that's what we become aware of. That's what we fight. That's what we work on. That's why social media is so important to kind of feed into that collective consciousness. And people focus on it and they are not aware of anything else that's going on beyond that. But I believe the transparency that the spirit world was talking about was being more aware of beyond what the collective consciousness was focusing on, and being awakened to, wait, all these other things are going on too. So that's
Yeah.
what I think.
Well, I mean, I I just spoke with a woman named Mary Rodwell who used to tour with Dolores Cannon and was talking about these indigo children. And there was another a microbiologist named Dr. Lena Olson who coined the term the letter children. You know,
Mm.
like ADHD, dyslexic,
Mhm.
Asperger's.
And
That's
I'm not a fan of stereotyping or putting a stamp of
Mhm.
of diagnosis on a kid. I mean, I've got kids with ADHD and autism,
Yeah,
and
me too.
I have 4 kids, and they all got something. But I'm not going to put a stamp on them and say this is who you are, because that what we're doing is we're classifying them, giving them an identity. Then they form their personality around the identity of thinking that's who they are. Doesn't give them any other options to say, well, this is what you're going through right now. Let's look at why it's happening and how we can transition you out of it, because it's not the only you that exists. It's just going on right now.
Well, Dr. Lena Olson is one. So she and one of part of her work is sort of trying to help change the model of how these
Good.
children are treated.
But we
And
also
it's
need to recognize it's not just children. Adults are now getting diagnosed with ADHD, ADD,
yeah.
onset of autism. All these different things that people are getting diagnosed with. Is it on purpose? Is it not on purpose? Are they just now recognizing that this is what it is and they want to put a title to it? I'm not sure.
Well, in the work that Mary Rodwell does, it's these kids are super gifted. They are essentially multidimensional.
Mm.
Yeah. These indigo children, they have all kinds of abilities. Um, they speak of all kinds of things. They travel on craft. They know engineering of an advanced nature. They speak like light language. They can communicate with each other with light language. It's mind blowing. I some of the things I can't even wrap my head around.
So are they classifying that form of indigo children as a star seed? Because we have the star seed children, we have the crystal children, the rainbow children. I'm an indigo child myself. And I can tell you
There's
nothing to do with spacecraft.
You want nothing to do with it?
Mistake.
Well, so you have the hybridization program and you have yeah, they talk about, indigo children also. I don't know if is there a difference between crystal children? I mean, I've seen that term with it in the book.
Based on their aura and their frequency, and the amount of consciousness they're able to bring in to the world. And that's really what it is the indigo children had an indigo blue aura. And that's how they could tell it was an indigo child, on top of the fact that these children were coming in with more consciousness and remembrance of their soul and their energy beyond the physical experience.
So part of the book that she wrote is called The New Human, and essentially, like, we're being upgraded.
Well,
Like,
we've been
I
getting these upgrades probably for at least 100 years now. Much longer than that, but we go through shifts of evolutionary changes. And I think from the 50s on is when we started seeing massive changes in our evolution of the consciousness. But I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think they had to upgrade our physical bodies in order for us to be able to hold more of our higher consciousness, because our physical bodies had to match the frequency of the soul alignment, because that's what the chakra system is the housing of the soul into the physical body.
Mhm.
And that had to be upgraded in order for the higher forms of consciousness to step in, which started in the 60s and the 70s with the indigo children. And they started coming in. The one characteristic and trait, knowing that you're an indigo child from the 60s and 70s, is your body did not prepare itself enough. Like, they didn't upgrade the body enough. So many of us are coming in with autoimmune disorders, chronic illnesses, things that we're just finding our bodies are breaking down. We can't handle the higher consciousness of uh, what's actually been embedded. Like our souls are limited forms of our higher self that anchors into the physical presence, the physical body. Bodies have to align to the certain frequency of the soul. But if the souls are coming in and they're of a higher vibration, the bodies don't resonate at it, then the physical body will break down. It can't handle it. And I think many of us as indigos didn't get upgraded as fast as we should have been. So many of us are actually experiencing chronic illnesses. I have autoimmune disorder. I've always had chronic gastro issues. There's many different things that I had from a very early age that I'm finding are classic markers of being intuitive and being one of the indigo children.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other part of it, right? They are highly intuitive. One of the traits she talked about that caught my attention is they can sort of see through the BS, and they're
Mm.
telepathic. You can't con them.
Well, it depends on how awake they are, because not all indigos wake up. Not all indigos will actually acknowledge themselves. There's a lot of fear coming into this world, feeling different, knowing things that other people don't know, having a higher knowing, um, feeling like you're standing out. Many traits of the indigos feel like we feel isolated, we feel alone, we feel like we don't belong. So many indigos will actually deny themselves as an indigo or as a sensitive child and will actually shut that down and try to live normal or what they consider normal lives. And they can't. They get just as manipulated mentally as everybody else. So
Yeah,
I'm going to say probably about a third of indigos don't wake up. They hide. They're not going to be open to who they are, because this is back in the 70s and 80s, we were just beginning to break through with the metaphysical communities and start talking about it more. Before that, nobody liked talking about the metaphysics or spirituality or even paranormal. It was one of those taboo subjects. So many indigos would shut down and not talk about it or not present themselves as being sensitive for that
yeah,
reason.
yeah. I mean, that whole thing is fascinating too. Like, just the neural connections they have are. Uh, I can't remember the percentage, but they have. It's a substantially higher increase in the number of neural connections that they have that make them hypersensitive or more in tune with things. It's unbelievable.
Mhm.
Um, and so part of the shift, in the work that is being done is to even just allow for a space for children or adults, because some of the researchers, are finding themselves out, like, oh my gosh, like that's me, um, that maybe weren't diagnosed, although, with kind of understanding who they are, but not going into maybe conventional type of treatment. There was the huge article in the New York Times last week about just how sort of like in mental health, how they deal with ADHD
Mm.
and rethinking that whole model. Um, because a lot of times that conventional treatment is, in some sense, it's changing personalities or dimming the light of some of these children. And so it's just fascinating how, these families now are connecting the dots between, these children and then their parents. And then when they start asking questions and looking into things like, oh, my grandparents were psychic and intuitive and were also, had abilities as well. So you have these layers that are coming out. And then the current time that we're in, you talked about like this timeline shift, but we are in this shift. Like, things are shifting right now.
All the time. And we will probably for another 40 years before things kind of settle
Hmm.
a little bit and get rebalanced. And within the next 40, I don't know why 40 years, but Spirit keeps telling me it's a 40-year shift. I don't know why
Yeah.
40 years. But they kept saying it's another 40 years from like this year on, another 40 years, where we're going to see some of the biggest transformations in society, in our
Mhm.
civilization, in our human bodies, in our consciousness. It's like what we've seen thus far is nothing compared to what is going to happen in the next 40 years.
Well, have you heard about 2027 in the news recently?
I don't think I've heard that one. Well, it depends. Depends what.
Uh, there's so much disinformation and stuff like that. But the CIA had, this leak come out. Maybe it was intentional, who knows? But that 2027 was a big year in terms of disclosure.
For 2027, I'm going to say intuitively, yes, but I'm feeling earlier than that. I'm feeling the end of 2026 is when things might actually start shifting. And what I feel they're talking about is not just disclosure, but um, awareness, more transparency again of alien life, but
Hmm.
actually seeing the proof out in the public, not hiding it anymore. And that might be something they're talking about disclosure, but it's going to happen so slowly. I don't want people thinking one day they just go outside and there's a spaceship over their home. It's going to be a very slow process. And I believe what's going to happen is they may present themselves, these alien spacecrafts might present themselves above bodies of water. I'm feeling water around it. And I'm also, I just heard spirits say, don't say too much. But I also feel there will be also over certain portals on the earth as well, but they'll morph in and out of third and fourth dimension. So you may see them there and then all of a sudden they'll be gone. So they're going to slowly start showing themselves. And then I also feel they're going to slowly start presenting themselves to people in a fourth dimensional plane, where
Hmm.
those that are beginning to wake up will now start to see them in their mind's eye, start actually communicating with them, start receiving, information such as we're here to help you, we're here to guide you on your path. So I don't think it's going to be as physical in the very beginning as much people think it's going to. I think it's going to be more energetic and, in their mind's eye, in their emotional bodies. They're going to feel it, they're going to sense it, they're going to know it, and then they're going to want the proof. But by then, they're not going to need the proof because they're going to feel it to be true.
I feel like we're on the cusp of it, right? Like this is all
Right
happening
there. And in
very
a
soon.
year and a half, where it's like, boom, like really. I mean, that's a timeline shift. That's a timeline jump right there. And I'm feeling October 2026 is going to be like a huge turning point in the timeline that we're going to be on. And they're shifting us to a timeline where alien communication and intergalactic travel and space stations are all, but like they shift us into that timeline where it's right there in our collective consciousness and awareness.
Yeah.
Be wrong, but let's wait and see.
Well, so these kids talk about it like they go on ship and go to school. They learn all kinds of things and they are fully aware of it, and it's unreal.
I don't, I've always had this unsettling feeling of spaceships and aliens. Maybe it's because I grew up in the 70s and 80s where we watched too many horror movies
Yeah.
of aliens. But then I keep hearing my guy say, no, I have history in other lifetimes, other existences of my consciousness where I am fighting against aliens. So whenever
Mhm.
people say, oh, we're going to be up in spaceships, my first thing is to be cautious and like, what kind of aliens are we talking about? And then they start talking about the helpful aliens. I'm like, that's great, but I'm a homebody. I'm an earthy. I like to keep my ground. I really do.
I just I'm always curious about my own. I'm like, okay, well, I'm human. I'm here. I teach mindfulness, be in the body. But then it's like my interest is, okay, there's all these interesting things going on. Even I just talked to a renowned mindfulness teacher who talked about his after 50 years, he started talking about his out of body experiences. He had like a near death experience and then started having out of body experiences where he would go into space, and he didn't
Sure.
necessarily talk about aliens at all. He was just like, I would
Well,
just go learn about the universe and how it
right,
worked.
right. I've had many of those. Those feel good. Astral
Yeah.
travel into space feels great. But when you start getting involved in other forms of consciousness, you have
Hmm.
to be on guard. You're like, okay, what's your intention here? What do you really want? Maybe it's just me as a protector. I'm immediately going to think the worst.
Yeah.
What do you want here? I'm even cautious with light language because I've stepped into light language and some of it feels good, some of it feels not right. And and
How
and
do you, is it a feeling? Because I know people talk about, with synesthesia, with light language, they perceive it in different ways. Like, how do you perceive it?
I don't actually allow it to come into me because throughout my 25 years experience as being a medium and a channel, I have recognized just because it's a high vibration doesn't mean it has our highest and best. Because high vibrational energy doesn't understand necessarily the concept of our free will. So it will sometimes come in and say, we're here for your betterment to help you with your collective evolution. But it doesn't understand that you have a choice. It's just going to give it to you. Not all light language is like that. So I'm just saying higher collective interdimensional cosmic entities are not always benevolent. They're not always good. They're not always bad. They're just neutral of their own consciousness. But when I start thinking about allowing light language in, it is a download, just so people know. It is a transmission of higher consciousness data. So when people are immediately start, oh, I'm going to start learning light language, where's the discernment? Where is am I bringing in my team? Am I bringing in the authority of the light language? Am I asking if this is for my highest and best? Am I enough of a channel? Will this disrupt my energy or my chakra system? Am I grounded enough so where this doesn't take me out of body and move me to a different dimension? There's many different things that they should be thinking about before they start getting into light language. Is this really what's best for you? Because getting involved in light language changes your vibrational frequency, opens up forms of your consciousness that may not have been adhering to your original contract and mission of what you came to do here on the planet. Now, remember, light language is an invitation. It's not a demand. If they're coming through and you feel compelled to do light language, it's an invitation from that higher consciousness to say, do you want to do this work? Look into it. Don't immediately jump in and go, oh, I'm going to be all knowing with this light language. First, that's ego stepping in. Second, light language should be a transmission of information that wakens you to more of who you are and more of our consciousness. If you want to present it to the world, that's great, but not everyone's going to be ready for it. So, but I have stepped in to transmissions I've been hearing from individuals. Like there's a lot of videos out there of people doing light language. My radar goes off. My protective, my fangs come out energetically when I start hearing some of this light language. And I was like, why am I feeling so protective when I'm hearing this light language codes or people saying it? And I immediately heard my guide say, not everyone's a pure channel and not everyone is receiving the pure light language. A lot of transmissions are coming through from higher dimensional beings faking the light language or providing more information that our consciousness is not ready for. It can actually be very damaging to our collective. So when I start feeling cautious about certain light language codes coming in, it's either not with pure intent or it's too high of a frequency that can actually hurt our collective, rip it apart because we're just not ready for that information. Again, you're talking to a protector here. So,
Well, I'm curious. I mean, for some people that are, I don't know, spontaneously start going into that, uh,
I think
I guess you
people are too trusting when it comes to that. And that's one thing that was told to me over and over again in my mediumship development was if everything is love and light on the other side, there's nothing to worry about. Well, I know that there are many forms and many levels in the astral plane that are not for our highest and best. But I learned that through my own personal experience and talking to others. But light language itself is pure. But have people really dug in to find out exactly why we're receiving this light language now? What's the main intention of it? Who is sending it to us? And what can we do to utilize it the best for our evolution? And if you're not asking those questions before you get involved in light language, then you're not ready to transmit. You're not ready to receive. But then
Interesting.
again, that's telling people things they don't want to hear.
I mean, I'm curious about knowing about these things, like even with channeling, like there's a lot of channeling and channelers out there that are I don't know, I want to say like popular, but it's just a lot of material and content out there. But you do need discernment. There is a lot. I mean, I'm starting to notice it more, but maybe you could speak to that because, like, I know we've talked about like maybe Bashar before, but
Mhm.
who, we don't need to name names, but what do you notice just in channeling that you hear? Like, do you get the same feeling with like some of the light language that you talked about, where you're like, you got to be careful here?
Well, with channeling, you have to be attuned to channel, for one. Everybody can channel, but these are inspirational channels, automatic channels. We are conscious beings that are connecting telepathically to other conscious beings that are not physical. And that information can get channeled through us. That's an automatic channel. We're doing it every day, but we're doing it with mostly our higher self and our spiritual team only. When we start channeling anyone outside of our spiritual team, we're going to feel like something is off. We're going to feel something different. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not the normal vibrational match that you can feel on an everyday basis. For those that are like Bashar and other channels, they were, a, you know, invited by these higher level beings to be the channel. It wasn't I'm coming in, I'm going to channel through you. It was, this is who I am. I like to channel through you. We are a vibrational match. And this is what my intention is, to bring this to the world. Of course, go to your team, find out, is this right for me? Always, always ask, because in the past, I've had many entities come through saying, I want to channel through you. And these were like 8th, 9th dimensional conscious beings that literally could have taken me over. I felt them so strong. Even outside of me, they were very strong forms of consciousness. And I'd go to my team and say, is this right for me? They're like, I wouldn't do it. I'm like, okay. They're like, I wouldn't do it. I'm like, will this take me off my path, my contract? And they said, absolutely. But you can do it if you want. You have the right to choose. We're not going to get in your way. This is what you want to do. Go for it. I wouldn't do it. And if my guide said they wouldn't do it, then I'm certainly not going to do it myself, because they see things we can't see. So I want people to know that if they're getting an invitation to channel, it doesn't mean they have to. It just
Mm.
means it's an invitation. Just like, you want to come to a party? Maybe, maybe not. Those of us who are introverts, no way. But those, everybody jumps into the bandwagon. Everyone's channeling, so I'm just going to channel. You have to be attuned to channel. Channeling is a form of mediumship. You have to have a special form of mediumship to channel. And there are many different forms of channeling. What you see with Bashar is a trance channel where he is consciously aware, but he is not in control of his body.
Right.
Power comes through. It's a trance channel. I can do that as well. I choose not to. I don't like anyone taking over. I like to steer my own ship. So, but I do receive other forms of channeled messages where it comes through me and my guides speak through me. And I do allow that, but it's a natural channel. So with light language, or when I see other people channeling, the first thing I look for is I look at their aura.
Okay.
What does their aura look like? How vibrant is it? What's the color? Do I see a stream of consciousness coming through their crown chakra? Do I feel a merger of other conscious energy around them? I look for energy signatures. Okay, that's their core frequency. Where's the other frequency channeling through them? I'm clairsentient. I can sense and feel energy. So if I just feel one energy signature, they're not channeling. If I feel a second energy signature or a multitude of energy signatures merging in with their energy, I immediately know that's a channel. But I can
What
see
does that look like when you're seeing an aura? That's the person is emanating an energy signature from them.
their aura starts to expand. It has to
Okay.
expand in order to hold more consciousness. It's like a balloon filling up. And then you're going to feel them become lighter, brighter, as if their energy is stepping out of their body in a way. Because what happens in these trance channels is your consciousness steps to the back of your body or even out of your body, and you allow this other form of consciousness to step into the forefront of your physical body to use the communication of your mind. So I can see that. I can see the two different energies in someone's body. Second thing I look for is intention. I step into the intentional vibration. I don't pay attention to their words. I pay attention to what are they projecting as a form of intention. What is masked behind the words. And that's discernment.
Yeah.
I can just do that naturally as a protector. Okay, what are they really here for? And I'm not stepping in to read them. I don't want people getting that idea that I'm stepping into like, oh, who is this person? I'm stepping in as a cautionary thing to step in and go, okay, why are they really here? Because I'm not going to take it at face value. I want to know what is it that they really want us to know. I never pay attention to the words until I find out, are they genuine? Do they really want to help? Do they have a love frequency? Do they see anything dark or heavy in the vibration? I pay attention to all of that first. Third thing I pay attention to is, does it feel right to me?
Okay.
Because the channel should never tell you anything more than what your soul already knows. What the channel is doing is not actually teaching you anything. They're reminding your soul of what it already knows. So if it's reminding you of something, it should feel right. It should feel like something just comes over you to say, I know that.
Yeah, like this congruence or resonance should
Right.
feel.
So if you're feeling all of these things and like, this feels right to me, even though I don't have memory of it, but your soul, because your soul speaks to you through more emotion than thoughts. So if your emotions and your energy says, this feels right to me, this feels familiar to me, I don't know why, then what the channel is a genuine channel. And all they're doing is reminding you of what you already know. They're waking you up to more of your own consciousness.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the things that I heard was that, when you are of a certain frequency that I had not heard this before, but it makes sense to me. But essentially, like, you have a high frequency. When you come across somebody, your energy has the ability, in a sense, to almost wake up somebody. Like
Yes,
it has to like pollinate, this flower, and then this other flower blooms almost.
right. Because what we're doing is we're merging our auras together. When you're meeting with someone, you even walk into a room and then someone's in the room and their frequency is a little stronger or higher or more expanded. You are actually merging your aura with theirs or anybody else in the room.
Mhm.
And when you do an exchange through your auras, you're now picking up telepathically and empathically on their energy. What that does is it wakes up your chakra system and says, okay, there's a new vibration coming in. And the new vibration is enough to flip the switch and waken you to what's happening. A lot of people call it the Kundalini awakening. You
Mhm.
don't actually have to go and get a chakra rebalancing or calibration for that to happen. You can literally just have a new relationship with someone and that will wake you up. You can watch something on TV or YouTube and their energy, because when they speak, they're projecting their frequency to you. That can be enough to merge into your aura and wake you up.
I heard that they were saying when this woman Mary speaks on stage, there was somebody, I don't know what their abilities were, but said the energy emanating from you is, described it and was just like it was unbelievable. Like that you could just be in a room and project your energy out as you're talking to this group, and it's having an impact. Because sometimes we talk about, or at least I've heard, your mission for being here, or why am I here? And it can be a little bit unsettling where it's just like, well, you're here, like you're just kind of supposed to be here. Like your presence is what's most important. Your
Right.
frequency, who you are.
Well, it depends. There are many different, see, there's a purpose and then there's a mission. People get them kind of mixed up.
Okay.
Your purpose is to exist. Your purpose is to exist and just and learn about existence. You are a creator. You are a spark of from the creation, from the source, living a physical presence. And in this experience, you are just here to do whatever you feel is right for you. So that could be that is your purpose, to exist and to make the most of your existence, however it is you want.
Mhm.
So many people feel like I should be doing this one thing, or I should be focusing on this job or this relationship, and that's my purpose. No, it's not. Your purpose is to exist. Now, some people come in with a mission, and these are mission groups. These are souls that align into soul groups on the other side that come in specifically to evolve humanity or our civilization. Mission groups can be activists,
Indigo children.
little indigo children, mediums. They can be scientists or doctors. That is your mission, to um, be able to expand information on the planet, to teach, to guide, to educate, to evolve humanity in some way through these mission groups. So you're going to feel compelled to do certain things in your life according to that mission. And then you have contracts and agreements that you've come in with. Say, I'm going to be in this relationship, or I'm going to travel to that country. You have agreements so that you can not only help yourself with your existence, but help others on their path and learning certain things in their existence. So there's so many layers of things that if people don't like, why am I here? Just tell me you're here to exist. What do you want to do with it? Do you feel compelled to do something? Do you feel passionate about something? Do you feel like you have to figure something out? That is an indication that you came here for a certain mission or an agreement. It is not required. The other side doesn't like me saying that, but it is not required for you to do it. They would like you to do it because if you sign yourself up for something, they expect you to take the responsibility to fulfill that.
But this, you're talking about like I made a soul plan. This is one of the things I wanted to work on, or no?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. But remember, these contracts and agreements are like guidelines, kind of like pirate code type of thing. These are guidelines. They're going to come in and tell you, this is what I wanted to do. But if you decide not to do it at all, it's entirely up to you. It's your free will. When we get here, our mind is wiped, our souls remember, and then so many things happen to us that we're like, sidetracked. We're off on a tangent. We're distracted. We let that bright, shiny object. And our guides are our navigators. They're the ones that keep us on track so we fulfill the agreements. But we don't always do it. We try.
Yeah.
And then we get back to the side. We're like, oh, look at all the things. You had like a list of 20 things and you got the 3 things. And the guide said, good job.
Oh my gosh. When you go through your life review, do you know, like, what is it, your guides that go through that with you, or is it just individual?
Well, there's several life reviews, not just one.
Okay.
But usually a real quick life review that you do through the transition process from moving from the physical state back to spirit. It's kind of like people saying your life flashes before you. It's a mini life review of your soul going, wow, that was a wild ride. It's a remembering. And then after you acclimate to the other side, you go through certain healing. You're able to transition back to spirit form where you don't feel the attachment to the physical anymore. Then they take you into a bigger life review. And in that life review, many people have actually explained or described it as going into a big coliseum or a big building amplifier. They're all like Greek buildings for some reason.
I know, it's interesting.
And we go into these buildings where there's large screens. We're able to step in and see our lives on these very large screens.
It's like a film study. Yeah.
Like they're like going into like an IMAX theater and sitting and watching your life. Other souls have told me that they actually step into the screen and they actually watch it as if it's like a 3D image around them.
Yeah.
And they watch it and they're able to not only watch it, but feel it. Feel their emotions, but feel the emotions of other people around them and how they affected others. So I think the life reviews are different pertaining to the personality of the soul, what they're expecting to see and what they're ready to see. Because not all souls are ready to see everything. Some life reviews are really fast. Others take quite a while. And some even refuse to do their life review.
Oh, I had not heard that. I didn't know that was an option.
There is absolutely an option. Everything is
Everything has an option.
Everything is an option. Coming here is an option. Healing is an option. Listening to what your guides have to say is an option. Everything is choice.
So you're telling me I chose to be here?
Absolutely. And what a gift it is to be here.
Yeah.
Feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just said that. That's not true.
You said that out loud?
It is such a gift. I knew it was a gift when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
I kept saying, it is such a gift to be here. I'm so happy to be here. And I don't know what I was talking about when I was 4 or 5 years old, but I just knew life was such a gift.
Well, one point of view is that, it's not easy to be sort of selected to come here. You, in this sense, you were at the front of the line, or you got yourself to the front of the line and willingly chose to be here. So,
I think we're allowed to be here. They certainly absolutely do not force us to be here. We are allowed to be here by these bigger spiritual teams because we have fulfilled certain experiences outside of the earth in other forms and other realities that has prepared us to essentially graduate with our evolution of the consciousness to move into another form of existence. And I think they allow us to come here to the earth because this is where we mature the most. This is where this is graduate school. This is,
yeah, this is like the PhD, right?
And of course, it's going to be the hardest because you've come so far already. So now you're here. They're like, this is not going to be easy. It's going to be some of the hardest lessons you've ever learned. but you'll also evolve and ascend more than you could anywhere else. And so those that are here, they deserve to be here. They worked to be here. And yes, you're going to say, I don't want to be here. I don't like this. I hate suffering, which suffering is a choice, by the way, but we suffer. And the other side said, we told you this was going to happen when you got there. But part of your existence is to recognize suffering as a choice as well. You don't have to, this doesn't have to be as hard as you make it out to be. But when you resist and you fight and you struggle, it becomes harder.
Mm.
So stop struggling.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes I imagine like, what was that conversation like with me where it's like, it's going to be really hard. Oh, that's great. Bring it on. How
Yeah.
cocky and arrogant I probably was on the other side. It's like, you're here.
When we're on the other side, we think we can handle anything. Bring it on. And I've had a lot of spirit guides tell me, because I do a lot of readings for people with their spirit guides, and the guides come through and say they wanted way too much to bring into this one life. We told them, we warned them it would be too much for them, but they were just so willed, so adamant to bring it here. They're like, we can do it. We've got this. I've got my team. I can handle it. And then they get here and they can't handle it. And the other side's like, we told them not to. We feel it's best if they didn't. So I will actually negotiate for people with their guides. They don't need me to negotiate, but I just have the awareness of the negotiation. And I'll talk to the soul and I'll talk to their team and say, what can we remove? What can we let go of that's embedded in their soul contract that they don't need to do? I'll have to talk to the soul because the soul is the one that decided to do it. The soul most likely said, no, I don't want to let it go. I will not give up. Sometimes the soul will say, yeah, this was really kind of too much for me. I don't want to do this anymore. And the other side can actually remove those imprints from the contracts.
Interesting.
Make it easier. But the whole spirit team needs to be in agreement with it, which means your master guide needs to be in agreement with it along with your higher self. There's a whole committee involved in soul contracts.
Yeah. I mean, it's for people listening that don't know, I think it's kind of, so you have a team of guides and a master guide and other guides.
You have a whole committee. Yes. And then you have those that actually write contracts and they'll come in and then they'll roll their eyes like, you know how much work this took? Well, because they're temperamental.
Well, aren't they have emotions, right?
They do. They're people just like us.
Yeah.
They're higher conscious beings, but they still have feelings. They get annoyed.
And your guides are people that you at some point knew, right? Or had contact with typically.
I've known my guide since I was 2 or 3 years old. I've been talking to them since I was just a toddler. I didn't know them until I hit my early 20s, where I went into meditation and met them in my astral form. As far as them working with me in the past, yes, but they take on different forms depending on the life I'm living and the information that they need to give me and the consciousness they need to hold in order for me to receive that information. I just want to remind people, there is no form in the astral plane. They decide to take on a certain form to hold a certain consciousness, a certain identity, because every identity holds a different intention. So if someone comes through as a Native American, they're projecting an intention of consciousness through that image. It doesn't mean that that's the image they have in the astral plane. It just means that's what they're presenting. So if my guides are presenting themselves in a certain way, that means that that is the energy they had to hold to present it to me in this life, because I somehow needed it for my journey. Because if you are many lives, then why present as one? You're not the same identity in all your lives. So they technically have no form. They have many forms, and they could take any form. They can even take a form of somebody they weren't before. Because Just like we have a collective consciousness here, we have a collective consciousness in astral form, and they could take any image and any consciousness and any awareness and embed themselves into it and project that to the world as well. As long
Yeah.
as they hold the vibrational frequency in high enough consciousness to hold it.
Mm.
That's why so many people are like, oh, I'm talking to Archangel Michael. Well, you could be talking to Archangel Michael, or you could be talking to an angelic form that is channeling the vibration and the consciousness of Archangel Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to bring up Metatron. Like a lot of people channel Metatron. And
Right.
yeah. So, okay. Because it's I'm like, okay, how many people are channeling this?
Well, if you also think of it this way, time does not exist in the light. And Metatron is of the highest vibrational frequency in a high dimension. The higher the dimension you go, the more time doesn't exist, the more the time is slowed down. No, Bashar talks a lot about everything is in the here and the now. Everything
Yeah.
is happening right now. That's not wrong. Everything is, depending on the dimension that you're in, everything is happening right now. But in our dimension, third dimension, where it's denser and slower, it slows down, where we actually have a linear timeline of connected to it. Now, Metatron of the highest dimension, everything is in the here and the now, which means Metatron could be talking to everyone in the here and the now, all at the same time.
Okay.
So, because I asked, I said, well, if everything's the here and the now, and all of our lives are happening right now, well, I had to ask, like, why do we talk about past lives? Like they happened in the past, not now. And that's when my guide started describing perception
Yeah.
changes depending on the density of the dimension you're in.
Yeah. That's a tough one for people to swallow. Your
Yes.
past life is
It was
happening
hard for me to
currently.
swallow. I mean, when I'm getting downloaded all this information, I had to really let go of all my original belief systems.
I think that was, just I got an education yesterday just learning about some of these children where, some of these kids, they're like 6, 7 years old. Like, yeah, I'm from the future. And just talking about all this stuff. Like, it's just consciously like,
Right, because not all past lives are in the past.
yeah, it's,
Other lives are in the future. I have a future life. I got to go see that. That was really cool.
did you?
I did. It was
How
nice.
far
I wasn't
ahead?
expecting about 200, 250 years in the future. I was on a space station rotating around the globe, around the Earth.
Hmm.
And of course, being a protector, I was part of a security force, almost um, like we have at airports where you have to go through security to get.
Uh-huh.
It was like a global security entrance point, so that those that were coming to our world had to go through our security to be able to get in. And I was part of
Interesting.
security on this orbiting space station. And it really reminded me, and it was really funny. If you've seen the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, it looked just like that ship in a way, but we had much larger um, windows to be able to. I was literally looking down at the Earth, kind of like you see in Star Wars. I was
Yeah.
looking down at the Earth, and I was walking through these um, round tubes going from one station to another station.
Hmm.
And everything was white, and everything was chrome, and everything was glowing, and it was nice and clean. It felt natural to be there. And a lot of people are going to be surprised that know me, like, you were on a space station. I thought you didn't like space and aliens, and
Yeah.
I obviously got over it because I'm on a space station in the future life. I wasn't expecting to go there. I thought I was just going to go and have a conversation with my team. And all of a sudden I walk in and I'm on a spaceship or space station. And I go into a conference room like, oh, well, we were actually managing your other life at the time. So come on in. We'll talk with you guys together. I'm like, really? It was so cool.
Interesting. Yeah. There's a woman, have you heard of Pamela Arlon?
No.
That
Um,
name, she, I'm sure there's maybe other people that do it, but she channels occasionally, future humans,
oh,
which is kind of interesting. Um,
we were getting a lot of information there about how not to ruin our planet. And I mean, obviously we don't, or at least that timeline that I saw in the future, the
yeah,
world looked beautiful. It looked cleaner. It did have a larger population though. And we were having many different alien life come to our planet.
yeah,
We were actually taking resources from the planet. We were actually harvesting. We're like maybe selling. I don't know. We were exchanging our resources from our planet, and then many humans that lived on the planet were going to other planets.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, it's, I mean that there's that version that exists,
uh,
that you hear about.
I was just happy to know the planet was still here. We didn't blow ourselves up.
Supposedly we make it.
We made in one
God,
timeline or another. We do.
how? Yeah, I know I brought this up with you before, but Bashar talks about we're kind of at this point, uh, some people call it the new earth, the shift, like two trains leaving the station, and that they're essentially this separation is occurring right now. And, we're kind of all together at the moment, but eventually the tracks are going to be such that, you can't see the other train
We've already
anymore.
we've already started that shift.
Mm.
Started a few years ago.
Yeah. At what does that just continue? Like, is that a slow burn, or how long does that take place where,
The
and
40
do
years
you even know?
that 40 years
Yeah.
is the splitting.
Interesting.
It doesn't happen fast. Like our poles are shifting very slowly. We've had fast shifts, we've had slow shifts. This is
Yeah.
going to be a slow shift. It can't
What
be.
do you,
I think our consciousness would be completely blown if we were to awaken so many people on the planet, move them into a fifth dimensional density, a state of awareness, and then change the vibrational frequency of the planet all within a few years. I think that's way too fast. We need time. We need
yeah.
to just be able to get out of the bed in the morning, have a cup of coffee, think about the day. We need time.
Well, you say 40 years, but then we're talking about, some physical disclosure happening within a year and a half or so,
Right. But,
you know.
but that is just another step towards the global ascension.
Mm.
The tool. It is a tool to shift our awareness. And with a shift of awareness, the vibrational frequency changes, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tool needed to shift.
Well, what do you think is most helpful for people who might be new to some of these concepts to know about this shift into, I don't know, 5D consciousness, or just higher consciousness in general?
Right. First thing is not to worry.
Good point.
There's so many people like, am I going to be on the boat? Am I going to go for the ride? Or what's going to happen if I stay on the lower form of consciousness? I don't want people thinking that they're going to be suffering or punished if they're not moving into the higher frequency. It's not like that. What it is the shift of frequency. Some souls are ready, some are not. The souls that aren't ready wouldn't even be watching this podcast. It wouldn't even be in their awareness to watch.
Yeah.
The ones that are the ones that are already shifting naturally. Because when you start shifting naturally, you become more aware, you become more interested and more passionate about certain things you've never been before. All you need to do is pay attention to what feels good and what feels right for you at the moment. And try to align yourself more to things that make you feel good. If it makes you feel bad, that's okay, but don't stay in it. And I don't want people thinking depression or anxiety or cheating every now and then is going to keep you at a dense vibration where you're not going to shift along with everybody else. That's not it. What it is it's more of souls that come into this world that get influenced heavily by the denseness and live in the existence of that denseness, where they're always closed-minded to spirituality, love, connectiveness, friendships. They're just shut off. Those are the souls that won't even be aware that the shift is happening. So if none of that sounds like any of you, then you have nothing to worry about.
So if you're
Just go
watching this
along,
show,
along for the ride.
you're on the right path.
I think the majority of the people on the planet are on the right path. I really do. Because it's a natural shift. It has happened actually many times before.
Yes. Are you talking about like the several cycles that have happened?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there'll be many more after.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I do what I do with the rescue mediumship. Because we have shifted many times before. And souls that moved into a lower denseness that weren't able to cross over during those ascensions and timeline shifts.
Mm-hmm.
When we are going through a vibrational shift, those souls that didn't ascend before are now able to be seen because we have vibrational rifts in the dimensional walls, and we're able to see them more than ever before. So my job is to educate and train other mediums to help shepherd those lower, denser souls back into the light during this time of ascension.
Okay.
Along with many other duties that I do, but that's one of them.
Yeah. And you have a number or several books available that talk about some of these things.
I do. It's really to create awareness of what earthbound spirits are. There's so many people to say, oh, there are no earthbound spirits. Well, there's a lot of proof to say that is not true, that earthbound spirits do exist. We have channels from very high beings, conscious beings that come through and talk a lot about the souls that feel stuck in that denseness and they're not able to make the conscious choice to move out of that denseness to cross back into the light. And it's not a crossing, it's just a term we use, but it's really just a vibrational frequency match to move back into a state of awareness. That's all it is. You're in a denseness, you move to lightness. The light is a higher frequency. When people are stuck in their denseness, they're attached to their suffering, their wounding, their fears, there's, all of that. So our job is to go in and clear that away, help them heal, raise their vibrational frequency to align back into light consciousness.
What is the role of their guides in that process? Like, are their guides still with them?
They're there every step of the way.
Okay.
But just like people here in the physical world, they don't know who their guides are. They can't see them. They can't hear them. Earthbound spirits can't too. Just because they're both spirit doesn't mean they can see each other. They're on two different planes, two different levels of the astral plane.
Yeah.
They're closer. The earthbound spirits are closer to the physical plane. That's why we call them earthbound. They're closer to our denseness. So we can see them and they can see us. But the guides are there the whole time.
Okay. So our guides don't leave us.
Never. Even when we want them to. Go away. We love them.
But they can change though, right? Sometimes.
What do you mean they can change?
Like one could come, or if you, I don't want to say change missions. It's not that. I've heard that a guide can switch off to another
I
guide.
mean, changing of the guards type of thing?
Yeah.
You can ascend past a certain lesson. You've learned the lesson because guides come in particularly for certain lessons. Some guides come in for certain situations in our lives that are temporary, but we have one main guide that's with us throughout our whole life, at
Right.
least, and one angel that is our guardian. They stay present in our lives every step of the way from our birth to our death and after. Then we have other guides and other mentors that step in temporarily to help move us through certain situations and understandings. Those guides can leave us at different times if we're no longer needing that lesson.
Okay. So we're never alone. We have spirit on our side.
Depending on who you are, you may have hundreds. They love working with us. I can't tell you how many times guides will come through and say, tell them I'm here, I'm ready, I want to do something. Give me a task. And then the person's like, oh, I feel guilty for asking. I just don't feel right. I should do it all alone. And I'm like, and I say, well, do you think a kindergartner can do it all alone? Not saying we're kindergartners, but do you think a child can do it all alone, or do you think they need a parent to guide them? I feel like,
Right.
yeah. Does a child feel guilty for asking the parent for help? Sure, the child might feel proud and say, I could do it on my own. I
Yeah.
don't need a parent. That's more of our mindset, is we could do this on our own. But if they only knew that guides are readily standing by, wanting to help us. Prayer, affirmations, mantras, they're all different ways to ask for help. All you have to do is ask.
You have to ask. There's the action.
But you also have to put some effort in yourself. You can't just always ask for somebody else to do it for you. We're here to do it.
I love the story. Your friend, is it Gigi?
Yes.
She was talking about the praying to win the lottery. And Spirit was like, eventually, like, I'm praying, like, when am I going to win the lottery? And they're like, listen, you're going to have to help us out. You're going to have to buy a ticket.
Right. It's like, put some effort in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard when people don't know how to receive help, then it's difficult. They're waiting for a certain sign, or they're waiting for something to land in their lap. That's not the way it works. When you're asking for help, what they're doing is they're assisting you in what you're doing. So you have to initiate and start the process, and then your guides will navigate you through the process and align you to where you need to be so that it happens easier.
Mm.
It isn't just, oh, let's just give it to you.
Yeah. There's effort involved.
There's effort, but then there's also dedication, persistence, resourcefulness. There's many things that you have to be. But also remember, it's okay to take a break. Sit back, relax, smell the flowers. Don't feel like you always have to get things done all the time. When's the last time you just sat in nature and just enjoyed the presence and the existence of what was around you? Sometimes our purpose is just to enjoy what we have.
And knowing that that's all alive, connected to it all.
Right.
It's a big deal to be able to connect and ground with the earth as we all shift.
As we shift, and the earth is shifting right along with us. So we're going to see many different things going on with the earth as we shift.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
big changes, right?
Changes. The way we perceive the world will also change.
Do you want to unpack that a little? What could you say?
Well, also, just think about the way you walk through a forest. When you're grounded and when you're not awakened, you're looking at the dirt, you're looking at the path. How much further do you have to go? Oh, there's bugs. There's not enough sun. My legs hurt. It's how many trees do I have to get through? You start looking at all the problems connected to walking through that forest. When you're aligned to the higher frequency, you're walking through the forest knowing you're one with the forest. And then everything there is a gift to you, to guide you, to heal you. Every presence, every bug, every creature, every gust of wind, everything is your connectiveness to the oneness where everything is speaking to you. You're still a person walking through a forest, but you're seeing it through a different set of eyes.
That came out when some of the accounts of the Indigo children,
Mm,
their ability to interact with that.
right.
It's yeah, okay. All right. I
I'm
see
an
what you're saying.
older indigo child where I came to shift the awareness and perception of consciousness. That was my task, which is what I'm doing with my work. We have new indigo children coming through, and they are more aligned to the higher consciousness. They've brought in more of their higher selves than I have, even though I've shifted throughout my
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
But they're coming in with more, I feel, galactic energy, more energy to align us to alien energy, galactic energy, interdimensional energy. They're here to shift our awareness to move into that state of being.
Yeah. Like we're graduating into that.
Right.
Um, Amy, what are there any messages that spirit would like to pass on to the viewers as we kind of wind down here?
There's a list of
A
things
list of
they'd
things?
like
Okay.
to say. I'm going to ask them what's the most important thing. And it's always love, but I'm asking them for something a little different. Okay. Oneness is what they really want people to know. And they're kind of buzzing around me. Try to connect more with individuals because on our spiritual awakening, we find ourselves isolating ourselves a little bit more. We go inward. We start paying attention to our energy. We don't want any distractions. We don't want any interference of other people. We find ourselves becoming more hermits in the process of our spiritual awakening. Even though we might be going out and doing things with other people, are we really truly connecting with them? Or are we kind of bringing our energy and saying, well, I got to figure myself out first? One reminder that Spirit wants to give people is the whole process of ascending and learning more about yourself as a soul is to remember in our connectiveness with each other. And by actually connecting with other people, you are going to learn more about yourself. They are going to be mirrors of you.
Yeah.
Don't isolate, don't become a hermit. Bring yourself out into the world and talk with like-minded individuals. Connect more. Don't just sit and watch a video and say, okay, I've learned and I'm awakening. The awakening is also about energy exchange, feeling energy, sensing energy, communicating with others in a telepathic and empathic way. So that just say, remember, you're connected to everyone. It doesn't mean you have to like everyone, but you are connected to everyone. And don't be afraid of that connectiveness. Embrace it.
So lovingly go out and socialize.
I think we've been getting away from that. I mean, especially with AI and more interactive tools and more remote jobs and remote learning, we're distancing ourselves from each other.
Mm,
And yes, we can connect to each other electronically, but it's not the same as being in person.
yeah.
Get out there in the world and socialize kindly. Social,
Yeah. Be kind.
be kind.
Excellent. Well, Amy Major, everyone, and I will put a link to your website and your services and your books and point them in the direction of the wonderful work that you do, Amy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much for tuning in today and being with us. May you find joy, flow, and adventure on your journey. And if you got something from it, please like, share, and subscribe and or comment. It means a lot. Thank you.